He wanted to be a soccer player, not a figure skater, not the quad god, a soccer player. The same dream shared by millions of American kids who kick a ball around in their backyard and never think twice about it. That's not the story anyone tells about Ilia Malinin. Everyone knows the medals. Everyone knows the quad axel, but almost nobody knows how close this entire legacy came to never existing at all, because the boy who invented it wasn't even fully sold on skating until he was 13 years old.
So let's actually dig into the version of this story nobody talks about, because the real Ilia Malinin is a lot stranger and a lot more interesting than the highlight reel. Fact 1. As a kid, soccer was his real passion, not figure skating. Even growing up in a household with 2 Olympic-level skating coaches for parents, he split his attention the normal way most kids do, chasing a ball around a field instead of dreaming about triple axels. It wasn't until around 13 when he landed a quad salchow and realized he had what he'd later call a hidden talent for jumping that he actually committed to the sport that would eventually define him. Fact 2, and this one might be the most overlooked detail in his entire origin story. His now legendary nickname didn't start as Quad God. His original Instagram handle was Let's Boy, a far less dramatic, far more forgettable username for a kid who was, at that point, still just another promising junior skater with a taste for one specific jump. It wasn't until that quad salchow landed cleanly that he rebranded himself entirely, swapping Let's Boy for Quad God, and then spent years actually earning the name he'd given himself as a joke. Fact 3. He has a signature move with a hidden meaning almost nobody catches. Malinin's family last name, Malinin, comes from his mother's maiden name and literally translates to raspberry in Russian. Fans and insiders have taken to calling one of his signature stylistic flourishes the raspberry twist, a quiet nod to the family name that ended up on every scoreboard and broadcast graphic in the sport. Fact 4. He almost skated the Olympics in a fashion statement most fans never noticed. During his historic backflip at the 2026 Milano Cortina exhibition gala, Malinin was reportedly wearing Balmain jeans worth around $1,100, landing one of the most technically demanding, historically banned moves in the sport's history in designer denim like it was nothing. Fact 5. He has a pre-performance ritual that sounds more like a college student's study snack than an elite athlete's routine. Before competing, Malinin reportedly eats a bar of Hershey's milk chocolate, a small, specific, almost mundane detail that stands in sharp contrast to the carefully engineered nutrition plans most elite athletes follow. Fact 6. His favorite subject in school wasn't anything related to athletics or performance. It was physics, which, once you actually think about it, makes an unexpected kind of sense. Because what is a quadruple axel really, if not 4.5 rotations of applied physics executed at the exact edge of human physical possibility? Fact 7. Away from the ice, he's not chasing extreme sports or high adrenaline hobbies the way you might expect from someone who does backflips for a living. He's a self-described gaming nerd, with hobbies including video games, skateboarding, parkour, drawing, painting, DIY arts and crafts, dance improv, and even fashion and content creation. That's not the hobby list of a single-minded athletic machine. That's the hobby list of a genuinely creative 21-year-old with interests scattered across a dozen different directions. Fact 8. He has 3 cats. Not 1, not 2, but 3 ragdale cats named Misty, Mew Mew, and Mila. And he's described them with the same specificity he'd use to break down a jump. Misty, he says, is mysterious, almost unpredictable, and lazy. Mew Mew, well, insiders say she's the more energetic, expressive one of the pair, originally before Mila joined the family. Small, oddly tender detail, one of the most technically dominant athletes in the sport unwinds at home describing his cat's personalities like they're characters in a story he's telling. Fact 9. He's already thinking about a life after skating that has nothing to do with the ice at all. Malinin has expressed interest in studying civil engineering or architecture once his competitive career winds down, a detail that circles right back to that physics fascination from earlier. The same mind that engineers physically impossible jumps might eventually end up engineering buildings instead. Fact 10, and this might be the one that reframes everything else on this list. After his devastating 8th place Olympic finish in February 2026, Malinin didn't just quietly move on. He posted a video to social media set to gentle piano music, cutting between his happiest competitive moments and a stark black and white shot of himself sitting with his head in his hands. He later called the collapse an inevitable crash, born from pressure he admitted he simply wasn't ready for. "Of course it didn't go the way I wanted it to," he said afterwards, with a rawness that most athletes never allow the public to see. "All I have to do is just learn from my mistakes there and push to see how I can improve in the future." Here's why that final fact actually matters more than any of the others on this list. Because everything else, the soccer dream, the old Instagram handle, the chocolate bar ritual, the 3 cats, the physics obsession, paints a picture of someone far more ordinary, far more textured, and far more human than the quad god persona ever suggests on its own. And that 10th fact proves it wasn't just a curated image. When things fell apart on the biggest stage of his life, he didn't retreat into that persona. He let people see the actual person underneath it, head in his hands, genuinely searching for how to move forward. That's really what this whole list adds up to. Not just a collection of quirky trivia to fill a highlight video, but a portrait of someone who built an almost mythical public identity, the nickname, the impossible jumps, the fearless persona, while quietly staying exactly who he always was underneath it. A kid who once just wanted to play soccer, a gamer who unwinds with 3 cats named after their personalities, a physics nerd who happens to be rewriting the laws of what's technically possible on ice, and someone honest enough to show the world exactly what it looks like when all of that comes crashing down in real time without pretending otherwise. Maybe that's the actual takeaway hiding underneath 10 scattered facts. The most dominant figure skater alive isn't some engineered, larger-than-life mythology. He's a surprisingly normal 21-year-old who happens to be able to do something no other human being on Earth can do, and who's still figuring out in public, exactly like the rest of us, what to do when it doesn't go according to plan. If any of these facts genuinely surprised you, if you walked in thinking you already knew everything about the quad god and left knowing something new, hit subscribe because there's a lot more of the real story still worth uncovering.